Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Art of Female Muscle podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Fremo, aka Femme Physique Fan. Delighted to be able to do another of these. Unfortunately, life keeps getting in the way, so it's been a while since I've been able to get one of these interviews, but I am delighted to have my guest today. She is an IFBB Women's Physique Pro. She competed this year at the Max Fit Pro, as well as the Masters World Championships, and that is IFBB Women's Physique Pro, Rachel Newman. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yes. There we go. Well, delightful to have you here. So when I did some research on you, you started training at a later age. You started training at 39. Is that correct?
So I started competing at 39. Yes, that was my first time competing was 39.
How long had you been training prior to that?
Well, I always gauge it. My son is 18. So I went to the gym and did things before I had my children. After I had him, I knew that I was done having children and I wanted to see what I could do in the gym. So I always say 18 years ago. He's going to be 18 next month. So 18 years ago is when I started seeing what I could do in the gym and how I could change my body.
So 18 years of training prior to competing. Okay.
No, not 18 years of training. 18 years to this day now.
Oh, to this day. Okay.
Yeah. So in 08 is when I started to become pretty serious in the gym. And then I competed in 2013.
I see. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
So did you have any type of athletic background prior to getting into the gym or anything of that? Usually you hear bodybuilders get that long litany of all the sports they've been in. Is that the case?
Oh my goodness. No, I was awful. I'm horrible at competitive sports. I did not like gym class. I took dance class when I was younger. I liked tap dancing, and that was it. High school, I did musicals, acting. I like that kind of stuff.
Okay. So what I saw here is that you started reading fitness magazines. Which ones were your most popular? Which were the most popular for you to read?
Let's see. There was the Muscle and Fitness. Well, my ex-husband used to get them. He subscribed to the magazine. So he would get the men's versions, Muscle and Fitness. And then there was an Ironman magazine. What was the other one? RX Muscle. So I would read those, and then I would go out to the store and I would get the women's version. But I really like the men's versions better. But I'd get the women's versions and I would read them and try diets and recipes and workouts.
Okay. When you were reading those, were there any bodybuilders in particular that inspired you?
So Dana Lynn Bailey was incredible, amazing. Okay. I definitely, she spearheaded women's physique, and Nicole Wilkins for figure. I mean, I guess the women that were at the time, they were the best of the best. And so I would look at their stuff and think, I want to be them.
Awesome. Now, there were some, I got here, you said that people were coming up to you and wondering when you were in the gym, said that, do you compete? And then I see that your then husband took you to a bodybuilding show and said you could do this. So, and then you said you did natural competitions for your first couple of shows, organization called Natural Muscle locally, and then with the INBF and WNBF before going into NPC. Let's see here. Was it always the intention to move ultimately into NPC, or is that just another suggestion that came up?
I guess. I'm trying to think. Way back, I was talking to, it was always this front desk girl named Kayla. She was adorable at the gym. And she was young, and she would always ask me, every time I would go check in with my little card at the gym, she'd say, oh, you need to compete. And finally one day I was like, well, I wouldn't even know what to do. And she's like, well, there's this show called, this guy named Jerry Marsala. He's a local person in Buffalo. He puts on this show called Natural Muscle. I'm going to do it. My sister's going to do it. You should do it. And I was like, oh, all right, maybe. And I think that's how I ended up. The first shows I ever went to were NPC, the Mr. Miss Buffalo, which is now renamed, but it's still here. And I thought it was because of her, she was telling me about that show. I decided to do that show first.
Okay. Before you moved into NPC, did you have any qualms about moving out of natural competition in regards to enhancement, or was that just not a problem?
No,
it's not an issue.
You know what? I guess in a way, I really believed I could do it. I was told I couldn't do it, I guess. So that kind of made me want to do it even more. So I was told that within the NPC, I'd probably only be good at figure. I could never do women's physique, which I thought is an insult to women that do figure, because these women that do figure have phenomenal physiques. And I was like, well, but I really want to do women's physique. So I did. And that was in 2015. And there were 6 of us, and I got second. So I was overjoyed and thrilled.
Okay. So,
and I also want to do something that was a bigger organization. These Natural Muscle, was just really a Buffalo, Rochester thing, which is about a city an hour away. So I wanted to do something that was going to, maybe get me further in the world of bodybuilding.
Okay, great. I have here some of your contest history. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but 2016 Northeast Showdown, was that your, understand, did you get your national qualification at that show? That was your first show in NPC?
No, the first show in NPC was, every NPC show I've done, I did receive I was always first or second.
Oh, okay.
So my first NPC show was the Mr. Miss Buffalo, which is now renamed the Buffalo Championships. And that was in 2015.
Okay. And then I have here the 2016 to 2019. 2019, you came back to competition at the Atlanta States Championships. Was there a hiatus there? And if so, what was the reason for it?
Well, I was getting divorced.
I'm sorry.
There was a lot of changes going on in my world, and my kids were young. So I couldn't just, at one point they were too young for me to just leave to go to the gym. So I could really only train when they were with their dad, or if they had plans, or if I had a sitter. So I really didn't want to compete unless I could really devote my time to the gym.
Yes.
I would never compete if I didn't think I was ready. So 2019, years had gone by. I was ready to do it again. My kids were older, and I went to compete in New Jersey in Teaneck, because then 5 weeks later, my plan was to do Universe, and I wanted to be at the same stage.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I have here you were at the NPC Universe 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And then 2023, you won Masters 35 Class A and were the overall winner. So you didn't just get one pro card, you actually got 2.
I got 2 because not for that. That one was a big trophy. So my pro card was awarded in the Masters 35 Class A, and then I did win the overall between the A and the B. And then I was second in the Open, Open Class A. And so at Universe, they give pro cards to first and second place. I
see. Okay. Has anyone been a coach, or have you just done everything by yourself?
No, I do. I have an amazing coach. We kind of keep it anonymous in a way, but he's amazing. And he's been my coach since 2023. Prior to that, I had some other coaches. My very first coach, unfortunately, was a good friend of mine. We met in elementary school, and he was the one that got me through the first 5, 6 of my shows. And he unfortunately passed away.
I'm sorry.
He was a great, okay. We were, when we were 21, we were all going out and having a good time, and he was bodybuilding. So when I decided I was going to do this, he was the first person I reached out to.
Okay. What is it now? Are you currently being coached?
Yes.
But you are currently being coached.
Okay.
What is it about that particular coach that stands out to you that you would want to be coached by them as opposed to any other coaches out there? What makes this one special?
Well, I think what he produces, and his passion and his love for everything, for the sport and for bodybuilding in general. And he's the one that took me. Granted, yes, did I keep myself in shape? I did, but I always knew there was more I could do. I always knew that there was more, that something I was missing. And once I hired him to be my coach, I figured out what was missing. And under him, I became a pro. Under him, I then competed as a pro. I mean, he's still my coach to this day. And this past summer was an incredible summer for both shows.
Great. Now, do they take care of everything, training, dieting, posing, or do you have any other coaches that deal with those other aspects? Like, I know some people will have one coach for training and dieting, and I hear then they'll have a different coach for posing. Is that the case with you, or does the coach take care of everything?
He does my diet. He does how much cardio I should be doing. Training wise, I have some training partners that I work out with, but for the most part, I know what to do, I guess, if that makes sense. So with training, I do what I do. I do not have anyone, coming up with a plan for me for that. And then for posing, this past year it was me doing my posing. I have always done my own routines. I've never had anyone do my routines. And I've gone to people to pose. I spent a lot of money on people, and it really didn't do much. It helped a little bit, but I mean, people are, they wanted $100 for a half an hour, or $50 for a half an hour, and anyway.
It adds up after a while.
It does add up.
Just like everything else in bodybuilding, it all adds up in the contest prep. So
it does.
Yeah. Now, do I have this right that your first show was Masters Figure in NPC?
No, my first show was Women's Physique in NPC. So
you've always been WPD. Earlier am I thinking of the shows that were earlier?
I did.
INBF, WNBF, were those figure?
No, that show was so weird. It was called Fit Body. And it was like women's physique posing with heels. It was bizarre. The front abdominal with heels on is the most awkward thing I've ever done or seen in my life. That was a really weird show. It was really weird. The whole thing was weird. They hooked the whole lie detector test up in someone's hotel room. Everything was weird. I did it once. I'd never do that again. And then, so that was Fit Body in heels. And then when I did the natural muscle, they also called it Fit Body, but it was barefoot. And I did figure as well.
Okay.
My 2 shows.
What made you center on WPD? What is it about that? What is it about that division as opposed to going into WBB or figure or any of the others? What is it what's now called the muscle divisions? What is it that made you center on that?
I love the routine and posing.
Okay. Just the idea of doing it instead of just doing quarter turns and just being able to design your own stuff.
Yeah, I love it. And I love watching people pose. I love watching people with, that are stage ready, that are, men and women both. I love it. I love going to shows and just watching good quality physiques posing.
Who are some of your favorite other posers in the IFBB Pro WPD division?
Rachel Daniels is always phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I actually saw her in person at a gym, and I was like fangirling a little bit, so I did not introduce myself to her, but I was in Tampa at the MI40 gym, and there she was, and I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. But she's always, one that I always think is phenomenal to watch posing, and I, follow a lot of these people on Instagram, and I just love all their work. I'm trying to even like Autumn Cleveland is phenomenal with the figure. I love watching her pose. My friend Kim O'Connell is one of my closest friends. She does wellness. I love watching her pose. I guess I'm pretty easy. In that I just love a good show.
Okay. Now you competed this year, 2025, you competed in MaxFit Pro in Masters.
Yes.
And then you also did Masters Pro World Championships. What was the judges' feedback at this year's shows as to what to improve upon?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Oh, okay. What are your plans at this point going into 2026?
Well, we're going to talk about it. I know what I want to do, but I want to see what my coach thinks that I'd be best at doing. So, he had suggested the MaxFit. I did Tampa twice. He had suggested MaxFit and Pittsburgh again, which I had done the year before. And his suggestions were phenomenal because I did, super well at both. So I'll see what he thinks for this time too.
Okay. Now you have two kids. You got
I
a
do.
son and a daughter. So what have their thoughts been on your bodybuilding?
They've grown up with it. You know what I mean? My son, both of them come to the gym with me sometimes. My daughter goes away. She just graduated college, but she's still going to be living away. And my son is real into, he's a senior in high school. So he played football and now he does indoor track. And then he'll do outdoor track and he throws. So with the throwing, he has to be pretty strong. So he is pretty strong. And he loves going to the gym and he loves squatting and benching and doing all sorts of stuff. And so they support me. It's mom. They're like, Mom, can we have your beef? Mom, can we have your rice? Can we have your chicken? And it works. They're just so used to it.
Okay. Now, are you still a teacher?
Oh yeah.
Are you still a middle school? I have you're a middle school teacher for special education students.
Well, it's the same building, but the last few years I've had high school, but special ed as well.
Okay. What was it that caused you to want to go into teaching as a profession?
I was 19. I did not go to college for teaching initially. I took an American literature class in my second year of college, and I forgot how much I loved English and American literature specifically. And I was like, okay, I want to be an English major, but what would I do with English? I was not going to go to law school. I was thinking, what could I do with an English major? And then I thought, I could teach it. So I did not want to teach little kids. I want to teach big kids. So I was initially certified in English 7 through 12. And then I got my master's in special education K through 12. And it's my 27th year.
27 years. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm closer to retirement than I am, which is crazy. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I know. I've been doing the same program for 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then why specifically special ed as opposed to?
Well, I work for, it's an organization. It's a Board of Cooperative Educational Services. And we provide services for districts, whether it's alternative ed, special ed, vocational education. So initially I was hired for just English for alternative ed. So these are kids who were removed from their districts for behavior reasons. They didn't go, they needed extra help, whatever it might be. And I had kids in my class who had 504 plans. And I knew there was more opportunity within my district if I had a special education degree as well. So I thought it just made more sense for me to get my master's in special ed. So like every summer, I do a summer school program and I need to be certified in special ed to do this program.
I see. So you're a teacher, you're a mom, and you're also a bodybuilder. So the big question for probably a lot of people who are going to watch this, how do you do it? How do you find the balance between the three?
I don't even know. I just do it, I guess. So if I have cardio, I do it at 4:00 in the morning. And then I come home and start my day. I pack my meals the night before. If I've got to, drive my daughter is away now. It's easier, or not, I don't have to worry about driving her places, but, and my son has his license now. So life gets easier as the kids get older. But it would be, I'd run to the gym after work while my son was at sports, and then I'd pick him up at sports and we'd come home, and then I would start my night where I would, cook beef, cook chicken, cook rice, whatever I needed to do, get my meals set, get everything ready, wake up the next morning, do the cardio. I mean, it just I work better with a routine.
Yeah, I've heard others in the same situation that they're trying to balance their job, their family, and their bodybuilding. That regimentation is important, like the discipline to stick to a plan.
Right, and I think even with my job, like I always want to be a better bodybuilder. I always want to be a better teacher. I always want to be a better mom. So everything that I do, I'm hoping it's going to piggyback on each other and make me better. I mean, if you ask anyone that I work with, they wouldn't even know that. They would tell you that I'm excellent at what I do as a teacher. I'm grading the papers. I'm making my plans. I'm always looking for something extra to do to, get the kids interested in whatever it is that I'm teaching. And then I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do in the gym, and I'm always getting my meals in. and I bring everything I need to work. One day I accidentally brought the wrong container and I ran to the grocery store and I bought rice in a bag. And now I keep rice. I keep that microwavable rice in my desk. I keep a packet of protein powder in my desk, and I keep a scale in my desk at work just in case.
Wow. That's dedication. I mean, if you're wanting to stick with the dietary plan, or if you want to stick with the plan, I mean, that's what it takes is discipline to be able to stay with that regimen. Now, what would be some advice you would give to people who are in your same situation? That they've got a job, they've got family, they've considered that they're older people who they're wanting to get into bodybuilding, but they might be hesitant to do so because they're wanting to see how in the world am I going to make all this work? What would be some advice to people that would be in your same situation? That would be like 35, 40 plus, and in that situation who want to get into bodybuilding, but they're hesitant to do so because they don't know if they could do it.
I think honestly, there's no rush. I have a friend of mine and she's younger than me. She's 13 years younger. And she's always like, she competed, a lot in the past. And she's always like, oh, maybe I'll get back to it. And I keep telling her, I go, I was 39 when I started. You're not even 39 yet. And then she always reflects back on that and goes, you're right. I go, exactly. And I think you do what you can when you can. And if you do little bits at a time. All right, I'm going to focus on diet right now. I'm going to focus on, on my training right now. And when I can get it all in a groove together, then perhaps, right, I can go to the next step and think about a prep for a show. There are so many people in a rush to do it. There's no rush. I didn't get a pro card till I was 48 years old. Granted, I tried 4 times, but again, I knew it would happen at the right time. I feel a lot of the younger people even that I see in the gym or that I talk to, there's such a rush to compete or a rush to get on a national stage. There's no rush.
What do you think is causing that? Or what do you think is perpetuating that rush mentality?
I think because now we're so bombarded with it. When I first started this, I started my Instagram account in 2013. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll put some fitness stuff on. And at the time, there were like 3 of us doing fitness stuff on Instagram back in 2013. I mean, more than 3, yes. But it wasn't like it is now where we're just constantly bombarded with so much content. And I think you see the cream, you see the best of the best, right? You see these women and men who are doing a national show or doing the Olympia or doing the Arnold, and that you want to be them. So you want to be them quickly. You don't want to wait. And I think it's just with everything now, we want everything to happen so quickly. We don't want to have the patience to wait. With everything.
Yeah, when you and I were growing up, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing. There's no such thing as social media. What impact do you think that the whole social media environment has had on bodybuilding? What are some of the positives? What are some of the negatives? You already mentioned one negative in producing this rushing mentality, but what are some good things that have come out that you've seen in terms of social media for the bodybuilding community?
You know what? I have met so many amazing people. And I think that I love Instagram for the connections that I make. I love it. I love that I make these friends and then I get to see them in person. There are still some I haven't met, but so many of them I have met in real life based on an Instagram conversation or an Instagram follow. And that's what I love. I love that I can find people who are like me. And I think, I have wonderful friends where I live. I do. I have wonderful friends. I've had friends since I was, little girl, elementary school, high school, whatever. But it's not the same because I can talk to my friend Kim, who I met on Instagram, and now she's one of my best friends, and I get to see her, a few times a year, which I love. She's in New Jersey, but we can talk about what we're going through because we understand it. And that's why I love Instagram. And also for content, I get to see how some people train and I go, oh, that's an awesome idea. I want to do that. I think that's also, I see someone that I look up to or someone who has an incredible physiques doing something different for legs or something different for arms that I haven't thought of. I'm going to do that next time I go and train that muscle group.
What is a typical training split for you?
I train legs twice a week. I train my back twice a week. I train basically everything twice a week except for, and that way I'll tell you why. Okay. So if I take a rest day, it's okay. Well, in my head, it's okay because it's something that I train twice a week. I do not want to rest on legs. I will train my legs twice a week unless for whatever reason I cannot. But my legs have always been a project of mine. So like Mondays and Fridays, I will train my back. A lot of times on Fridays, my son had football games. I did not go to the gym. I couldn't. I had to go to work. I had to go home, get ready, get my meal ready to go to the football game and watch him play. So I would take Friday off. Wednesday, Saturday would be for me, our chest and shoulders. And again, if I have something going on Saturday, I'm on a trip, I'm somewhere, I don't train it, that's okay. I trained it Wednesday. Tuesday today is triceps and biceps.
We had talked about this earlier, just before the show started. What are some of your favorite gyms in the area that you like to train at?
Well, here, I belong to a gym called Catalyst, and there are, I think, 8 locations, if I am saying that correctly. But that's the biggest gym company, I guess you want to say, in Buffalo. At one point, it was a Gold's Gym many, many years ago, and Amy Buemi, the owner, took it over, I believe, or owned that, but then made it Catalyst. So I belong to Catalyst. I belong to another gym that's been open for a year called Pro Muscle Lifting Club, and that's a great gym. And I also really like it because my picture's on the wall, along with a copy of my pro card. So that's really cool. It's fun to go there and see my picture and see my pro card and, I feel appreciated or honored for that. And then another gym I belong to around the corner from me is called Platinum. It's like a family gym, lots of personal training, but it's close. So if I have to go there while my son's at sports, it's easy. Or if the weather's bad or, something like that.
Do you have any sponsorships with any companies out there in bodybuilding?
Nope, I do not.
What are some of your favorite products to use? Or and just for everybody, this is not a sponsored podcast, so I'm not getting paid for any of this. So I'm just curious, what are some of your favorite products to use?
You know what I love? I love Vitamin Shoppe. I love Vitamin Shoppe's EAAs. They have like a sour watermelon flavor that is amazing. I love their creatine. I do like their pre-workout. Right now I've got the Hawaiian Punch C4, but I'll tell you, Vitamin Shoppe has great products. So,
excellent.
Yeah, their protein powder, it went downhill again. It was downhill, got better, now it's downhill. So I do not use their protein powder, but I have Rise currently, and I like that one.
Okay. What is your favorite day at the gym and your least favorite day at the gym? In terms of body parts to train.
I know. Well, I guess like today was, I do like biceps and triceps, but biceps is like my least favorite to train. I don't know why that is. I don't mind triceps, but biceps, I don't know, not my favorite. My favorite day is probably chest and shoulders, just because I like the pump, I guess. I mean, I can say I like leg days. I saw somebody yesterday, I think, wrote, if you say you like leg days, you don't train hard enough. Well, clearly I do train hard enough, but I like that, I guess. So I can say I like training legs because I like the feeling after it. Like I like knowing I did like a really good job.
Okay. What's your favorite cheat meal?
Well, I'm thinking, well, I love pancakes. Like after a show, all I want is pancakes. Like Denny's chocolate chip pancakes is phenomenal. Love them with whipped cream and sugar-free syrup. But I also really like pizza. I've been really I get like a cheat meal once a week now. So it's usually pizza.
Frozen, or do you like go out to a restaurant or?
Yeah. Restaurant or, we have a lot of great pizzerias in Buffalo, New York. So, either get takeout or go there. But I've been really wanting pizza and sugar. Like I always like a good cookie.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, if you're in Chicago or anything like that, you should check out Giordano's if you're wanting pizza. Just
Okay.
they've got a stuffed deep dish pizza, which is to die for. It's like really, really good.
Maybe I'll do the Chicago. I mean, like, I know you're asking about shows, but there really aren't that many shows to choose from for me, for women's physique, and I want to do masters.
Right.
There's
I
not
just looked at the schedule, and it's only, like you said, there's not very many.
no.
I mean, most of them are open. I mean, not of them are going to be masters. That was going to be one of my other questions. Was you see what's happening? It's like Vancouver Island Showdown. They pulled their women's physique. Right. St. Louis pulled their physique. Legion Sports Fest pulled their physique. Tupelo Pro that was there last year and I just checked the schedule today. It's not there, so I'm assuming that's gone too. I mean, what are your thoughts on the state? And those are a lot of those are opens. They're not masters. So I mean, you've got even less choices because you're in Masters WPD. What are your thoughts on the state of WPD right now? And then also in the NPC now, you're only seeing like 2 or 3, like at the local shows, you're only seeing like 2 or 3 or 4 women show up. What are your thoughts on the state of WPD in general, then Masters in particular, and the IFBB and NPC? And then what are some things that can be done to improve?
I don't know. And I think I was talking with somebody about it at the NPC level, because we have 1 or 0. Like, there are so many shows. I look at a lot of the NPC Northeast stuff because that's where I live. And after one of the shows, they always do like a group photo of all the winners. And I'm always looking for a barefoot person. And there's never a barefoot person. And I'm like, there was no one women's physique. Like, so when I go to my Masters shows, there's a ton of us, especially in Pittsburgh. I'm like, okay, good. Here we are. We're all here. So there's a ton of us that are like, 40, 50, hanging out, wanting to do this. But someone was telling me that, a lot of people don't want the muscle. They don't find the muscle attractive. They don't want all the muscle. I don't know. I love the muscle. So to me, that sounds silly, but I don't know why. I worry about it because, I don't know how much longer I will compete, but I'd like to, keep going a little bit. I could do an open physique show. I just, I don't think I could compare to the women's physique open ladies. So I just tend to want to do masters.
You might give it a shot just to see. You might do better than you think you do. You might do better than you think you would do. So
maybe. I don't know. So far, I know, like, I was looking at the schedule. There's Chicago, there's Tampa, there's the Pittsburgh again, there's Maxfit again. But there aren't, and there's one in November, I think, in Florida, but they're right. There's not that many. And I'm worried that I don't know what would happen.
Yeah. It's like, I looked over at the schedule for women's physique, and you've got 30 shows now, and most of them are open. Like you said, not a lot of masters. And I looked at that and said, oh, well, that looks like an improvement. Then just for kicks, I looked over at bikini. They've got 113 shows.
Wellness.
Set up for the year. So I'm like, okay, but it's like, I look at that and it's like, geez, what can be done?
I know.
To try and fix this situation. Same thing with WPB. It's still here 40 years later, but it's just a question of how much longer.
Right.
Because they're in the exact same boat.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And there's that show in Puerto Rico, which would be phenomenal, but I'm not going to be ready for April. That Puerto Rico Pro is having every Masters division for every category, which is awesome, amazing. Like, that's great. I was happy to see that. But I'm not ready for April at this moment, this year at least.
Now, you probably heard this. Always wanting also to pick your brain. What are some thoughts on this situation? The whole Sarah versus Natalia saga that's going on right now in WPD. It's like you've got Sarah accusing Natalia of oiling, Natalia saying, hey, back it up with proof, such like that. What are your thoughts on that thing?
You know what? I just look at it and I keep scrolling.
No, that's probably the best thing to do.
We're both, honestly,
in all honesty, yeah.
They're both women that I have looked up to in the past. They're both women that I think are phenomenal. They're both women that, have phenomenal physiques. Natalia, I think, was like the youngest pro ever. back when I followed her for a very, very, I think since the beginning, I followed her. Sarah was a little bit later, but they're both amazing. You know what? I feel like we all need to just get along because we cause too much of an issue again, right? Well, then we won't have it at our show if this is going to cause an issue.
Right. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a state championship that I saw in the NPC that for the first time, not only didn't have women's bodybuilding, but they also didn't have women's physique. That they pulled it all together from their lineup. And this was a state championship. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I look at that and I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. But I had one more question to wrap up things. Okay. And that was, let's say you've got a younger competitor who's starting out, or is in your situation, older, and they're wanting to start, not necessarily trying to find work-life balance, but they just want to get into bodybuilding. That they look to you the way that you look to Dana Lynn Bailey. Now you're the role model. Now you're the one that they look up to. What would be some advice that you would give to people who are considering going into bodybuilding? And what I mean by that is things that they should do, things that they shouldn't do.
Honestly, I think finding a reputable coach is number one. And I mean, perhaps a coach that I could recommend, or that somebody, if you're looking up to somebody, hey, I'm looking for a coach, who can you recommend? Or who would you suggest I reach out to? And then I think, I guess as a gut feeling, if something doesn't feel right, or something like, I don't know if I could do that, or I don't really want to do that, don't. And I think that might be difficult to do. But I think a lot of it is you to trust yourself and know yourself enough to follow what sounds good and legit and not harmful. And I mean, I think a good, reputable coach is not going to lead you in harm's way. At least the people that I right now have in my head. But, unfortunately, you see, the downside of it, that, people do trust some individuals and they end up, having some health problems or worse.
That's true.
And a lot of it, I think about just people that, withholding water for an extended period of time, or salt, and manipulating all of these things that I don't think I know you don't have to do in order to do well. And I think, unfortunately, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just trying to, I guess, just got to, if you don't feel well or it doesn't feel right, look to somebody else, or talk to your coach and see what else you can do if you don't feel well. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just trying to word it. I should word well, not being an English teacher.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being on the show. I appreciate you coming on. You've shared wonderful information. So it's always great to talk to one of you ladies, because it's all nice to get your background, and then also just learning experience for me to be able to learn new things. So thank you so much for being on, and appreciate you being here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who tuned in. This has been yet another edition of the Art of Female Muscle podcast.